How often do you write a formula and then copy it down a column or across a row? All the time, I'll bet. Well, you can stop doing that now because there's a much faster way. With the new BYCOL and BYROW functions available in Microsoft 365, you can write a formula once and it will automatically copy across or down as required. I know it sounds too good to be true, so let me show you. If you've used Excel tables before, you'll most likely have experienced writing a formula in the first cell of a column and then it automatically being copied down the column to the end. Awesome, right? But it doesn't do it for the totals. Plus, what if your data isn't in an Excel table? Let's write one BYROW formula to return the average grade for each student in the table. I'll write it so that if I add more students, I can have BYROW automatically fill the formula down. The technical explanation is BYROW takes an array or range of rows that you want to iterate over. This array is then passed to Lambda one row at a time for Lambda to perform the calculation. It sounds scarier than it is. If you're not familiar with the Lambda function, you can get the lowdown from this comprehensive Lambda video, but you should get the gist for using it with the BYROW and BYCOL functions from the examples in this video. The easiest way to think about BYROW is simply any formula or function that you want to apply to one row and copy down can automatically be applied to multiple rows with BYROW. So starting with BYROW, my array argument, that is the rows and columns containing my student grades. I then use Lambda to take one row at a time from BYROW, and I need to give the array in BYROW a name. Now I can name it in the name manager beforehand, but I don't need to. I can just name it on the fly here. So we're going to call it row range. And I should also point out that Lambda can take multiple name arguments, but when you use it with BYROW and BYCOL, it can only take one. So the next thing I need to do is tell it what formula I want applied to those row ranges. And here we're going to find the average. What are we finding the average for? The row ranges. So there it is in the IntelliSense. All I need to do is tab to select it. Close average, close Lambda, close BYROW, press enter, and there you go. It spills the results. One formula for every row. Now if I just edit that formula, notice that the array that I've selected here in my first argument for BYROW is the same size, it goes down to row 14, as the spilled array result. But what if I want to add more students and have the formula automatically fill down? In that case, I can use the take function to discard any empty rows before passing the array to BYROW. If you're not familiar with the take function, check out this video. So let's edit this formula. We'll wrap the range in take. So the array is still the same set of cells, except I want to allow for growth. So let's go down to row 20, and make it bigger or smaller. And then which rows? Well, I can simply use count A to count how many students I have, make sure it's the same size, close count A, close take. So this is going to give me my array, and that's going to pass it to Lambda. So all I need to do is press enter. Now it doesn't look any different, but when I add a new student, let's say me, now I was never good at sciences, so let's say 62% there. I was better at arts, and chemistry not great either, but will give me 65. That's probably being generous. And you can see BYROW has already filled the formula down for me, like magic. Now BYCOL works in the same way, except for columns. So here I can use BYCOL to reference the grades, and we'll again have to use Lambda to take the columns one column at a time. So let's call this col range. And what are we doing? Let's find the average just to be consistent. So we're finding the average grade in the col range. Close average, close Lambda, close BYCOL. So BYCOL is passing these columns one at a time to Lambda, which passes them into the average function. Press enter and we get the spilled results. So these are the average grades for each subject. Let's do something slightly different. We'll use BYCOL again to find the maximum score. So again, we're referencing the columns. We need to pass it to Lambda, and we need to give those columns a name. And here we want to find the max of the col range. Close max, close Lambda, close BYCOL, press enter, and it spills. Pretty cool, but let's say we want to find the name of the student who got the top score. Well, Normally you might use index and match to look up a name in a column and return the result. So let's start with that. Index, what are we indexing? We want to find the names. And then we're going to use BYCOL to reference the array, and we need to use a lambda, and we'll give the BYCOL range a name, col range. What are we doing with that column range? One by one we're going to pass it to match, which is going to look up the max of the col range. Let me just Control-Shift-U to enlarge the formula bar, and then Control-F2 to go up there where I've got more space. So now I'm going to find the max of the col range, close max. Where am I finding it? In the col range. And I want 0 for exact match. So that's going to give me the row number for the highest score for each subject. It's going to pass that to index to return the name of the student who got the highest score. So we'll close lambda, close BYCOL, and we'll close index. Press enter, and there's the result. So Ian got the highest score for physics, Hannah for art, and Alice for chemistry. Pretty cool. These are just a few examples of how you might use BYCOL and BYROW. Next time you write a formula that you plan to copy down or across, try using these functions instead. Also, there is a lot more to the lambda function that you can do outside of BYCOL and BYROW, so I recommend you check out my lambda video next. If you found this video helpful, please give it the thumbs up and subscribe to our channel for more. Thanks for watching.